Hello friends, welcome to Knowledge House. Right now we'll be looking into today's The Hindu newspaper that is of date 15th of August 2018. So as usual, we'll be looking only into articles that are important from a various kinds of competitive exams including UPSC civil service exam. So I welcome you all to this video. Let's start. So the first article is regarding the fall of Indian rupee. That is, rupee has came rupee fall to an all-time low of 70. It has crossed the 70 rupees mark. So 70 rupees mark against the dollar. So the fall to an all-time low on Tuesday. And this figure shows what happened actually and why it has happened. So why it has happened, the article says the Turkish central bank has been unable to stop a sharp plunge in the lira. That is, lira is Turkish currency. So Turkish central bank was unable to stop its decline in value and pushing the value of the dollar higher and driving down the emerging market currencies. That's what happened. So the country's economy has been troubled for years, but the latest crisis was set off by the worries over President Recep Erdogan economic policies and the trade dispute with the US. So here the triggering factor is the trade dispute with the US, and what actually happened was US that is US dollar started gaining its value. So all emerging market currencies were pushed down. So what does it mean? It complicates the job of RBI, that is Reserve Bank of India, in keeping the prices in check, as it makes imports will be much more costlier now, and also it will make exports cheaper for overseas markets. So that's what this article says. So definitely, this is a classic example of how globalized villages or not globalized villages, how globalization is going to affect, or it shows the intensity of how globalized a particular currency is, or how globalized we are. So definitely, there can be a question in GS3 paper regarding this. Is connecting the plunging and appraisal of this currency values against globalization. The question can be discussion or critically examine the role of globalization in the upstream and downstream values of currencies. So that's all about this article. Moving on to the next one, it is regarding the army. So 300 army personnel moves to the Supreme Court against prosecution. So what has been the turn of events? So in July 2016, the Supreme Court held that there is no concept of absolute immunity from the trial by criminal court if an army man has committed an offense. The judgment came on a plea by hundreds of families in Manipur seeking a probe to 1,500 or more than 1,500 cases of alleged fake encounters involving the army and police. So in July 2017, the center asked the Supreme Court to reconsider its 2016 verdict, and in 2018, Lieutenant Colonel Karamveer Singh, a Kargil veteran, moves the Supreme Court against the Jammu and Kashmir for filing an FIR against his son, Major Aditya Kumar, for opening fire at protesters in the valley, killing 3 people. As Chief Justice of India led bench ordered that no coercive steps be taken against this particular officer, that is Major Kumar. And on July 30, the CBI assures the top court that it is doing its best to prosecute persons guilty of Manipur encounters. And in August 13, 2018, that is yesterday, uh, Supreme Court seeks a center's response to a PIL petition accusing the armed forces of indulging in fake encounters. So right now, the army personnel have moved to the Supreme Court against their prosecution. So more than 300 army officers on Tuesday moved the Supreme Court against what they called prosecution by the court and the civilian agencies like CBI for doing their duty in the insurgency hit areas of Jammu and Kashmir and northeastern states. So, according to the petition, an extraordinary circumstance, please note here, an extraordinary circumstance was prevailing over armed forces personnel fighting in the insurgency hit areas and the national borders. They are plagued by doubts whether performing their duty to fight enemies would expose them to prosecution and land them in jail. So this is definitely a question of ethics. Also, there is an element of polity, and also there is an element of no, all two elements are there. There is one is an ethical dimension. So once a officer feels that while doing his duty, he may land up in jail and he may after facing a prosecution, that will definitely affect his morale. But at the same time, innocent people should be taken care of, right? So there can be a question of ethics regarding this, and also the polity kind of thing, that is Armed Forces Special Powers Act. And definitely there can be critical analysis and various kinds of questions from these two topics. So that's all important about this particular article. Moving on to the next one, it is regarding the sexual abuse cases. So 1575 sexually abused children are now in shelter homes. That's what center has told the Supreme Court. So Supreme Court asked, what have you done about these kids? If there are 1575 boys and girls who suffered sexual abuse, what have you done? That is what Justice Madan B. Lokur asked the Additional Solicitor General Pinky Anand, appearing for the center. So, which stage did not take action? What did you do about it? So, nothing has been done for these 1575 boys and girls, and they continue to be sexually abused. That's what, again, the court continued to ask. So we cannot shut our eyes to what is happening around us and what is being reported in newspapers. That's what Justice Gupta observed already. And there is a national social audit of childcare homes being conducted by the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights, that is NCPR. This audit, Mrs. Anand said, would be completed by October 2018, and she said 3,500 shelter homes for children across the country has already been audited. And Justice Gupta said that the audit should not be just about collecting statistics, but an active evaluation of the conditions of the children in the homes must be taken care of. Talk to the children, if see if they are happy or unhappy. That's what Justice Gupta has observed. And while explicit details of the trauma of victims, the report concluded that the administrative and procedural gaps have affected the functioning of shelter homes. This is the article all about. At the same time, what I like to add some additional information regarding this. I recently listened to a TED talk regarding this, and it was an NGO worker from Australia, and she was working in Rwanda for or some years, especially regarding this childcare and associated things. And what she said was there was a lot of corruption, and there was a lot of corruption and a lot of abuse and harassment going on behind this shelter homes, especially in various parts of the world. And this is not something that is a problem that is exclusive to India. And she suggested as a solution is that rather than donating to children home or a shelter home or something of that kind of architecture, we should be focusing more on a cluster of villages actually, rather than, so that these benefits are reaching direct to their home, and also such children will not be separated from their parents also. And I thought that to be a very different and innovative solution for such things. And definitely once after all these abuse, harassment and all that, the civilian life of such children will be definitely some kind of deformed. They are likely to become criminals, they are likely to become various kind into, like their civilian life is going to be not normal like what others are doing. So definitely such a change, that is donate rather than donating to such institutions, if a cluster of homes are given an opportunity, so that donations will be direct to the home rather than to an organization, definitely that can induce a lot of change. That's what that particular NGO worker has said. Anyway, let's see, let's hope that the things will turn out good. That's all important about this particular article. Moving on to the next one, UK slams Indian IT firms. So a lobbying group which pushes for greater control on the British immigration regime has accused the multinational IT companies, typically based in India, of exploiting a gaping loophole in the British administration system, and has called for the system to be overhauled. So, the report published on Wednesday, Migration Watch, said a small number of multinational IT companies were exploiting a system intended to post the senior executives to and from the UK to bring thousands of migrant workers to fulfill the public contracts and private and public organizations. I'll repeat the statement once again. The report, which published on Wednesday, the Migration Watch said a small number of multinational IT companies were exploiting a system that is intended to post senior executive to and from the UK to bring thousands of migrant workers to fulfill contracts with private and public sector organizations. This is known as the third party contracting, and usually involves an international IT company, typically based in India, obtaining a contract to deliver a project or a support service to a UK entity, and then staffing it with workers from the company's home country. That's what Migration Watch has said. So the next it is about a tier 2 visa category. So though the part of the tier 2 visa category, that is intra company transfers, are not subjected to a cap, and have that is not subjected to a cap, it does not have any particular ceiling. So and have over time represented an increasing work share of tier 2 work visas. That's what lobby group has said. And last week the Confederation of British Industry published a report calling for the government to scrap the immigration target. So intra-company transfers are a hugely benefit for the UK, boosting investment by the international companies and creating jobs in the UK. So these two reports are in stark contradiction to each other. So the trade body Tech UK rejected the suggestion, saying that the talent was cutting in the UK, and the domestic skills also are getting affected. Last year there were more unfilled vacancies in IT than any other sector. That's what again a particular expert has said. So the UK is a world leader in tech because it is open and attractive to the best international talent. While it is right that the industry continues to build our domestic skills pipeline, maintaining routes that allow businesses to get workers they need when and where they need them is critical to any sector of the economy. So this is all about the visa regime and various other things in UK. Anyway, like again, this has sort of globalization kind of element, because basically that's what allows the transfer of resources, especially human, that is human capital. The basic idea behind this definitely globalization. So again, there is a migration kind of question. Again, there is a you know the world is facing, or various kinds of government that is taking up control at various countries are definitely an anti-immigration kind of thing. So definitely there can be a question connecting all these factors. So that's all important about this. Anyway, let's now look into what kind of more details. There's just a basic understanding of such issues is enough. So that's all about this particular article. Again, we are moving on to the economy side. Foreign rupee positive for growth of inbound tourism. That's what the article says. So the sharp depreciation of rupee against the major currencies will help inbound tourism to grow while outbound tourism will be hit. That's what this article said. So a weakened rupee has made India a cheaper foreign destination. That's what association of tourist operators, some kind of just like CII, the tourist chairman of the Association Tourist Committee, has said. So we expect inbound tourism to benefit by 10%. That's what this particular official has said. So in the past 8 months, the rupee has fallen over 8% against the dollar. However, this had little impact on the people taking trips to the dollar destinations. If the rupee is If the rupee may weaken further against the dollar, travelers may trade down, that is, like reduce the duration of travel, stay in a 4-star accommodation, and cut back on shopping to cut down expenses while on the trip. That's what this again, that same official has said. However, it is very rare that the travelers cancel or resist their choice of overseas destination that has been planned for months. So that's all about this particular article. We are moving on to the next one. It is regarding center proposing the new bidding model for greenfield airports. So the government on Tuesday proposed a new transaction structure for bid process for greenfield airports, switching from a revenue model, that is revenue share model, to a fixed fee per passenger to be paid to the concessioning authority. I will repeat the statement once again. The government on Tuesday proposed a new transaction structure for the bid process for greenfield airports, switching from a revenue share model to a fixed fee per passenger to be paid to the concessioning authority. The present model is revenue sharing. That's what the Civil Aviation Minister Suresh Prabhu said at a press conference. Then the new model will be based on the passengers entering the airport. This will be more transparent method. With this new technology, the head count is far more easier. And the maximum blended aeronautical yield, this is a particular quantity, that is MBAY, it's an important parameter also, in terms of rupee per passenger, would be determined by the concessioning authority at the beginning of the tender period. And this particular fee has been fixed at 400 rupees per passenger for the financial year 2018-19. The bids would be, however, different for each airport in line with the projected traffic, financial returns, and the risk profile. So the traffic regulator, that is airports economic regulatory authority of India, may formulate key performance indicators as a part of the bid document and could be revised every 5 years. This would ensure the quality of services by the concessionaire, and the ministry has invited comments on its proposal until September 14, which would be incorporated in a model concession agreement for airports. So important authorities to be noted here is Airports Economic Regulatory Authority. That's one important thing to be noted. And also this the maximum blended aeronautical yield. That's another important parameter that determines the bidding amount and all that. So that's all about this particular article. We are moving on to the next one. It is regarding the again a currency related thing. So the trade deficit widens to a 5-year high. So following the rupee's decline against the US dollar, the trade deficit widened to more than 5-year high of 18.02 billion dollars in July. The trade ministry said on Tuesday. So this is likely to have a large impact on our various kinds of economic parameters. So that's all about this particular section of this article. And weak rupee good for textiles and clothing, but high volatility to export. That's what AEPC has said. So it is important to see the rupee weakening in the context to our competitors' currency. That's what the Confederation of India Textile Industry chairman has said. So from April to June, the weakening Indian currency gave exporters a competitive edge, according to Chandrima Chatterjee, advisor at the Apparel Export Promotion Council, again AEPC. So right now the weakening of rupee is conceived as something really positive, but too much volatility will affect exports. The center is expected to reimburse embedded taxes and raise reimbursement for state levies, thus giving governments a fresh push. So definitely here the textile industry is under question. There are various schemes like Sambada. I hope it is correct. Please verify that. And also the various we have been replaced by Bangladesh as a very prominent textile exporter. So that's all about this particular article. Moving on to the next one. It is regarding the groundwater pollutants in real time. That is monitoring of groundwater pollutants in real time. So, involve a particular new system has been developed. So, in this involves in situ monitoring. That is in position monitoring using proxy measurements. So, scientists have developed a low cost method to monitor the groundwater pollutants in real time and help reduce the potential health crisis. And the conventional methods of monitoring involve water samples every that is taking water samples every year or every quarter and analyzing them in a lab. And if there are anomalies or an extreme event, you could miss the changes that might increase the contaminant concentrations or potential health risk. That's what the scientist who led the study has published. And our methodology allows continuous monitoring in situ using proxy measurements. That's what this article says, so that we can track the plume movement in the real time. So the researchers tracked the levels of tritium uranium 238 in groundwater at the Savannah River site, a former nuclear weapon production site in the South Carolina of the US, and the measured acidity, that is pH level, and the specific conductance level were analyzed by this group. And the Kalman filter, which is used in this particular process, is not a physical filter but rather a mathematical algorithm that can integrate mixed time series data to make estimates. That is mixed time series data to make estimates. It is used in various fields such as traffic prediction and remote sensing. The same method is provided in that is the same method provided reliable information about the plume of more than 20 years. That's what all about this article. So we have finished analyzing today's The Hindu newspaper. Thank you very much for watching this video, and please hit the like button if you like this, and do share it with your friends. And you can follow us on Telegram. You can follow us on also on our blog, that is www.knowledgehouse.co. And please do subscribe our channel so that you won't miss any updates from us. We'll be coming up with more interesting and compelling videos. And you can definitely support us by sending whatever small possible to this particular number. And another way you can support us is by sharing this video as much as possible. So thank you very much for watching this video, friends. Have a great day.